Look, when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I really didn't have any intentions to go see it. It just didn't look appealing to me. However, since starting this channel about 2 years ago, I've taken suggestions and recommendations from my wife, who's been the number one supporter. But it wasn't my wife who suggested it. It was actually my mother in law who actually said, I think you should go see it. So, with that in mind, I did go see this movie. I did go see Jesus Revolution, and I really wanted to talk about it.
Hello there, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children.
Now, for those of you that don't know, like how I didn't know, apparently this movie is based on the true story. It is based out in California in the 1970s in an actual uprising in the Christian faith. Now, it does take place in a time period where the hippies and Christianity, the Christians specifically, are completely separate. The Christians didn't want to do anything with the hippies or didn't want to learn anything about the hippies. And then you have some hippies who are into drugs and, of course, everything that we know from Woodstock. But you do have the other ones who were actually looking for a higher calling, looking for Jesus, looking for God in a certain way. But again, the Christians didn't want to listen to any hippie for that matter. And this is kind of where this film takes place on. Now, you do have actors such as Joel Courtney, who plays Greg, Jonathan Rumi, who plays Lonnie. You do have Anne Grace Barlow, who plays Kathy, and then, of course, Kelsey Grammer as Chuck Smith. Now, if Chuck Smith sounds familiar, then that's correct. He is actually a real life person, and it kind of showcases his church, Calvary Church, back in the early 1970s, late 60s, kind of losing people in his church, and then a gradual and exponential uprising in the Christian faith, thanks to, of course, Lonnie, who is indeed a real person in real life who I believe passed away in 2003, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, though, that's kind of like the whole realm and the basis of this movie is set in the 70s, and the ability to take a step forward into learning something new, learning someone their ideas or their aspects, and being able to learn from one another, especially within the Christian community or Christianity all in general. And you do see that from some Christians who want nothing to do with that hippie lifestyle, though they want to find more into life itself, want to find God, want to find Jesus. The Christians don't want anything to do with it on that side. And it's really sad. But at the same time, though, Chuck Smith takes a step forward. Kelsey Grammer's character takes a step forward and takes faith into Lonnie, because all he does is he sits down, he listens where Lonnie comes from, and from that point of time, he understands. And what he needs to do after that is kind of really showcase, look, there are others like us, may not be the same realm as us as far as the basis of the normal Christian look, the Christianity look of, you know, collared shirts, tie shirts, dress shirts. Instead, yeah, they don't have any shoes on, but it doesn't matter because it's the message that truly matters. And it's really the relationship of Lonnie and Chuck in the beginning. Now, you do have other characters such as Greg and Kathy, who are more so in the high school realm, who are starting off into that hippie lifestyle that we all know from Woodstock. But it does take a turn, not going to say what, but it does take a turn to where they lead into Chuck Smith's life as well. Now, the one thing I will say about this film is it was done by Lionsgate, and the artistry of it is absolutely beautiful. The colorization really makes you feel like you are in the 1970s. It has that yellow hue to it a lot of the times, and it's actually beautiful in that nature. When it comes to the characters actually doing LSD, for an example, you live in that realm of what they're visualing or visualizing when they're under that influence. And unlike some Christian films that are, Christian funded, that don't really showcase that, the one thing that Hollywood has going for it when they do Christian based films is they go all the way. Look at the Passion of the Christ. Look at how bloody and gory that was. But it depicts the true nature and reality of what happened. And that's exactly what this film does, is it showcases the reality of course, Greg as well as Kathy, and how their culmination between one another grew from doing the drugs to actually finding God and being baptized and being under Chuck Smith. Now, like I said, I won't say much about this because of the fact that you can either go watch it, which I highly recommend, or you can research it yourself. Again, when I first saw it, I didn't think it was based on a true story. There were a few things that happened when I was like, did that really happen? But it did. And that actually caught me off by surprise. I was not expecting that, but it was an expectation that when I found out, I was like, you know what? Good for them. They should be able to do that. They should be able to talk about this. And specifically during a time period where Christianity was very bleak, and seeing this uprising to not only few handful of people, but also to 50 people, to hundreds to people, to thousands of individuals who now go to the actual church themselves all across the state of California. Because again, it's Calvary Church, which is one of the biggest churches in California specifically. And it's definitely a message that's very humbling, and it's a wonderful message at that. And in reality, I wasn't expecting Kelsey Grammer to play this character, but he did go on a talk show and he actually cried about it. And it's wonderful. But again, I enjoyed the movie. I loved it. Honestly, it's something that I could see purchasing later on in the future to show my kids when they grow up, just like a little brief history and everything like that. Because you do see all four characters go from like a downhill situation where by faith it only climbs up and climbs forward to where they actually need to be in life. And it's a beautiful story. And honestly, I haven't seen many advertising of it, so which is why I want to review it, because if it hits somebody who may pique interest in it, I would highly recommend it. But if you have already seen it though, what did you think? Because I want to know. Again, I love the beauty and the nature of the not only cinematography of it, but the message too. So leave your comments below. Make sure you follow us on all social platforms, as well as check out our merchandise link down below. And we'll see you next time for our next review.